To summarize briefly, professionally, because we want to get to this reading here, it was a very difficult time. And almost by accident, when I was 33 years old, I got a hearing test from a nurse at Mobile when I went to Mobile for a number of years, and she told me that I was deaf. I didn't believe her. For a year, I did nothing. She asked me if I had noises in my head. I did since that illness. I call them locusts. It's called tinnitus, and I thought they were part of the natural world. I denied it, and I didn't believe her, but then for a year I began to follow the minutes of meetings I was attending and compare them with what I'd understood, and there was a dramatic difference. So finally I went to a hearing doctor up here in Massachusetts when I was visiting my mother. He thought I had a brain tumor, that I should see a neurologist. I went back to New York. I felt pretty well, so I went to see the head of ENT at Columbia PNS.
ENT?
Head of ear, nose, and throat, an ear doctor. And he did the tests and explained to me that I was seriously deaf, that I had been for many years, and we traced it back to the scarlet fever. So the magic of hearing aids, to get to this reading, if I can find it, the magic of hearing aids is not so much that they give you the clarity of words. It's that they, page 185 here, they do help with words, and they made it possible for me to practice law for another 20 years. By giving me a boost and giving me all those easier lyricals. But the magic of them is that one day after I got those hearing aids, and I was sitting out back in Millbrook, New York, on the beginning of a weekend. I had my weekend gin and tonic in hand, and my hearing aids were in my glasses at that time. And I felt out there in the field, nobody was with me. My wife Claire was in the house, friends were in the house, that somebody else was there. I wasn't alone. So I turned on the glasses, and suddenly I heard the sounds of crickets. And this is what I write about here. It's about, I don't know, a page and a half. Crickets had once filled each summer at Main Harbor until they died that 7th year. During the first August, I wore hearing aids just after returning from Mappas Facts, Pie Lines, and Bartered Bankers. Those are lyricals for technical terms. I rented a weekend house with friends in Dutchess County, about 2 hours up the Taconic Parkway from New York City. Millbrook is very much in the country, and the house lay in the hollow of a 200-acre bowl of fields you could survey from a large backyard bounded by low hedges. My first Friday evening, I made myself a gin and tonic and went out back to sit on a bench alone. I was wearing the hearing aids with the switches off. There wasn't a soul outside for miles. All I could hear was the buzz of the locusts in my head. As I looked out over the waves of tall grass, I felt suddenly not alone. At first I thought it was the silent swaying of the grass in the wind, the breathless hush of evening that lingers on the brink of... I turned on the glasses. In a fraction of an instant, the fields came alive with crickets. Not 1 or 2 or 20 crickets, but thousands upon thousands of them, with the glorious high-pitched trill of their wings silencing my locusts. The chorus came from everywhere, north, south, east, west, stretching in from over the hills and fields and pouring into my electrified ears. I turned around in circles to hear it, a melody more hypnotizing even than Puccini's, coming from every direction. The hearing aids were reaching out to the orthoptera, real ones this time, crickets running the bows of their upper wings along the strings of the lower and amplifying the sound of the membranes along their surfaces faithfully as the spruce and maple of a violin's hourglass. I had not heard them since before the scarlet fever, and when I turned the hearing aids off, I became suddenly deafer again to them than the female cricket, who, though deaf, has an olfactory sense that detects her lover when he lifts his wings. I turned the hearing aids on and off, from noise within and from noise without and silence within to noise within and silence without, and back again. Thousands of real lives out there in the field, restoring a distant past and raising a new present, born of the displacement of molecules in the air, bearing those and other sounds that gentle rat could hear and Beethoven could not. The birds, the rainfall, the footsteps, the breaths, the water, the crickets, the merry bubble and joy of my life as a young child.
Very nice.